If you became a fan of Formula One because of Drive to Survive, um, I owe you an apology. Here's why. The other day, my wife looked at me and said, "You know what? I want to watch the first season of Drive to Survive, maybe a couple of seasons of it, because I'm having a hard time remembering some of the history, what happened with drivers before, what teams, the drivers are on. And, instead of, looking it up on the internet, maybe I'll just watch Drive to Survive. It was entertaining." And I'm like, sure, whatever. I'll be in my office, racing my sim. But then she turned it on, and you see the races, you see the familiar characters and all that kind of stuff, and you're kind of beaconed over. You sit down, you watch it, or at least I did, and I was like, wow. Season 1 was actually pretty good. Now, I can't claim to know how accurate everything was, but they were talking about racing. They were talking about the drivers. Max Verstappen still looked like a young pup. Daniel Ricciardo was still racing, so was Sebastian Vettel. And they had some airtime on Fernando Alonso. And it reminded you of why everybody was on Team Ricardo. It reminded you of Ricardo's journey. And it didn't just cast Ricardo as some guy who barely made it into F1, hung out for a couple of years, and then washed out. No, he should have won a championship. And it turns out Red Bull actually wanted to retain him. And he took this journey all around, Renault and McLaren and all that kind of stuff, and eventually came back to Red Bull. But you could see that some of the mojo was gone. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo, 2017, 2018, there was a look in his eye, and you could just tell this guy meant business, and then it just it wasn't there in his last couple of seasons. And it was also pretty amazing to see just how much of a fan Christian Horner was of Daniel Ricciardo. And they were showing footage from some of his races, and can I say that the 2018 cars looked so much better than the current ones? I hope 2026 brings back some of that magic. But can I say that they actually showed some of the radio communications that made sense? Daniel Ricciardo was trying to pass some folks, and they were like, you got to ease up on the tires. You're going to wear out the front axle and all that kind of stuff. And you could tell he was so close. He wanted to keep pushing, but, he had to actually get, some communications from the pit wall. The pit wall was, don't do it. It's not your fight. And it was about racing. If you watched the most recent season of Drive to Survive, they're watching Leclerc walking his dog and, whatever drama, the girlfriend drama. I'm sure folks were dating back then in 2018 during season 1 or 2017 or whatever, but they weren't focused on that. They were focused on the driving. If you watched that, I'm assuming season 2 was probably fairly similar. If you were watching that and you were like, this is a hell of a sport, I want to get into it, then my apologies. I can see why you got hooked. As a matter of fact, I can't wait to keep watching. Now, some of it is a little bit nostalgic to see, especially folks like Daniel Ricciardo. I think he should have at least won one championship. That guy was just the king of overtaking. But now he's doing his Rosé thing, and I'm assuming he's okay with that. But, yeah. And you see that Max Verstappen wasn't always perfection. You see that he actually needed time to develop, and that's not to take away from the phenom that Max Verstappen is, but it gives context. When you look at someone like, a Liam Lawson or a Kimi Antonelli or any of the younger guys coming in, you have to take into account that the cars that they were driving, I think, had maybe half the horsepower. And this is a whole new thing. It's an elevation, a huge elevation to go from Formula 1 to Formula 2. And so I really truly appreciate some of the stuff that I saw in season 1, and I can definitely understand why, if you saw that, you would come over and just be like, yeah, I got to get into this sport. I think that's it for today. I just saw You owe it to yourself to watch season 1. Watch season 1. I'm endorsing it. I'm saying it's cool. I don't know how accurate it is, like I said before. And you could be like, oh, well, this race didn't this and that race didn't that. And yeah, I'll apologize. But I'm saying season 1 was kind of legit. I usually try to pair Formula One news with car news. I don't really have any car news today. I know Ford is saying that they're lowering prices due to the tariff war, but you know, everything that I see these days, I kind of take with a grain of salt because car sales weren't doing very well right now. Right now anyway, and this would be a great time to announce price cuts and then say, we're doing it for you guys. Not we're doing it for ourselves because we overpriced our crap. We're doing it for you. You were buying it, but now you can't afford it. So now we're going to bring the price down because we're nice. I don't think that's the case. I think they were looking at slumping sales and they're like, we need an excuse. And somebody was like, tariffs. And they're like, yes, that announce price cuts right now. We got to do it. Now, I am apolitical. I don't get into politics. I don't believe that, this party or that party is coming to save us. But, I do have to touch on it when it is relevant. And I am wondering if this is just a good time to kind of cut some prices because cars are way too expensive. That's all I got. 7 minutes. It's a lot shorter than the last one. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've been Dalton. This has been the Petrolist, and you have been great. Talk soon.